So how thick are my combs? All my combs are about as thick as a standard Marine Band 1896 comb. And that is to say, it's so that would be about 5.7 millimeters thick. So my combs range from 6.2 to 5.6 millimeters thick. So there's a little bit of a range. Some are a little bit thinner, some are a little bit thicker, but they're all sort of zero in on the Marine Band, the reference standard thickness. Now, a Suzuki Manji has a thicker comb, 6.2 millimeters. Seidel is around the 6 millimeter mark. So all the manufacturers have a different exact thickness. The material is made from recycled paper and natural resin. This comes in these huge sheets. They're like as big as a wall. So if you can imagine, when they're manufactured, there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of built-in tension between all the layers of the resin and the layers of the recycled paper. So when I cut a comb, the material relaxes a little bit, and the comb can be a little bit warped, which is fine, because once you release that tension, all you have to do is flatten the comb and it'll be stable. It'll be dimensionally stable. You can guarantee that the comb will be of a certain thickness, or you can guarantee that it'll be perfectly flat. It's more important for the comb to be perfectly flat. So I offer my combs with a range of thickness. It's about I aim for 5.7 millimeter thickness. Even the Manjis, even the Golden Melodies, Marine Bands, Seidel, that's a great thickness. If you want the perfect meeting of tone and response, the thicker comb you're going to get, the more sluggish the harp is going to be. The thinner, you might find the tone will start to suffer. In that range between 5.6 millimeters and 6.2 millimeters is pretty much the same. You're going to get the same tone. We're talking about a half millimeter difference. Here's the difference between one. This is on the 6.1 millimeter range, and this is on the 5.6. So 5.9 is sort of right in the middle. You see you can see a little difference, but once the harp's assembled and you put it in your mouth with your eyes closed, you shouldn't feel the difference. The response in your mouth, the tone in your throat shouldn't have any difference. So why not guarantee thickness? So I can give a standard product, for you to know that every comb that you're going to get is going to be the same thickness. Well, because flatness is important. The reed plate and the comb have to come together and be one. Once they're assembled, they have to become one piece. When I have sound vibrations traveling through the instrument, the whole instrument needs to behave as though it's one piece, except for the reeds. The reeds are the only mobile parts. But the framework that holds those reeds in place and that shapes that sound as it leaves the harmonica has to be one strong piece. And if you have these little micro pockets where there's no contact between the comb and the plate, well, then you have two things vibrating, and they might be vibrating at a different frequency, and that means you're going to get less power. Literally, when I do reed work and I test a harmonica, literally there are some pitches that make my teeth hurt because the vibrations are so powerful, because everything is so amplified. That's what I aim for. And if I were to offer you a comb that wasn't perfectly flat, you would be getting less power. Another question, some people say, well, this surface doesn't shine. How can it be perfectly flat if it doesn't shine? It actually is flatter with this texture and more airtight. It's more grippy with this texture. Every single polished comb that I've ever inspected for flatness will have, and it's usually around where the screws are, and it's usually around where the slots of different shape. There's more material here than there is here. So when you do your polishing, you're going to take off more material where there's less support. So I have yet to find a comb that has been polished on the reed plate side that is flat up to my standards. I go to a great lengths to make my combs flat, and that's where I put my priority. So for those who are confused why you order two Marine Band combs and one could be 5.9 millimeters thick and the other can be 6.2 millimeters thick, the difference lies in they are both equally flat. And to achieve that, maybe one needed a little bit more work than the other. But in the end, you're not going to notice the difference. If you want a thin comb, I can offer you a 5.5 millimeter comb or 5.0 millimeter comb. If you want thick, I offer 7.2, 7.4 millimeter combs. At those thicknesses, you're going to see a difference. But at anything around the 5.7, 6 millimeter mark, plus or minus, they're equivalent. They're the same. You're going to find them equally delightful in terms of response and in terms of tone. So I hope that answers your question.
Virtual is real.